Except for today, I wasn't thinking because I still don't have the new studio set up, and so I wore a white jacket, a white shirt, off-white jacket, and so I'm like a big floating head here with a microphone.
I dig it. Yeah, that's awesome. Right on. Like Max Headroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Cool.
we just dated ourselves. Everybody, thanks so much for coming. Great turnout, great response. If it's your first time, great to meet you. Thanks for coming to the HJ Free webinar series. We've got a special one today. And if you're here again, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much. Really cool. As we were just kind of teasing the topic a little bit, it's such an important piece of event fundraising, especially pre-event fundraising. We talk about it ad nauseum for a reason. But introductions first. Amy Myers, VP of Community Partnerships at MDA, and a friend, a dear friend of HGA, is with us today. We were just talking about how the fact that we have this conversation on air about sponsorships and underwriting about once a quarter because it's so darn important. So Jason Ledlow, HGA Fundraising, Trevor Nelson, HGA Fundraising. We are a company that we pride ourselves on putting our best information out for free in the form of free content, free coaching, webinars, podcasts, but we also have the most profitable auction items in fundraising, the perfect fit for your live auction, silent auction, online auction, raffle, all the above. So just a little bit about us. And this is a very interactive webinar. If you've been here before, you know that. And if this is your first time, you're going to realize that this is not your grandmother's webinar. So please keep the questions coming. We even have Bailey. You can't see her right now. She's going to monitor. She's going to drop links of previous episodes and different things that are contextual throughout the conversation. A little bit more house cleaning. But yes, we have the Q&A function at the bottom, chat feature over there as well. So please keep the questions coming. We're going to do really wide lens, and then we're going to get really into the nuts and bolts and the weeds about sponsorships and underwriting because it does the topic deserves that.
Well, we're going to give you, and we're going to, I promise you, we're going to give you some practical things when you get done. There'll be practical things that you can do to add $25,000 to $50,000 to your sponsorship and underwriting. Absolutely, you can do it.
Yep.
And so doing that. Oh,
you almost let me get there. I almost got there. Go ahead. You do it better.
State of the end and win. State of the end and win. We give away
famous words
every week, and so don't leave.
We're going to give something really cool away at the end because we're so we're gracious, we're grateful, and we're generous. The triple G's.
Well, we try to be. Okay, Amy. Sponsorships and underwriting. So can I ask my question now, or do I have to wait? Did you have something you want to start with, Trevor?
Can I start really? I love your question,
Sure.
Amy. We got you. We're gonna put you on the spot. Hope you don't mind. But hey,
I've got one. It's gonna be a good one.
First and foremost, it'll absolutely have a purpose. I just want folks to understand what we're talking about. You might, there's 50 of us, 48 of us might already know this, but for the folks that maybe don't, we're going to delineate the difference between sponsorships and underwriting in a very practical sense. And I'm going to give you the floor, Jay, to talk about it. And then, Amy, I want you to expand on it as well. But when we say sponsorships and when we say underwriting, let's give practical examples. What do we mean?
Well, real simple. I'm going to give you this most simple way that I like to break it down. Sponsorship means it's tied to a ticket, a table, or something for people to attend.
Love it.
Underwriting means they don't have to show up. This is we're just going to get some practical. Maybe there's some way you tie those two together, but for me, whenever I talk to somebody or I'm coaching, I always make those two things. I'm talking underwriting has nothing to do with a ticket, table, anything like that, but sponsorships do. So I don't know, Amy may have a different take, but just when I'm talking about underwriting, that's how I think about it. Versus
what do you think, Amy? Do you concur?
I do concur.
All right.
Okay. Can I put her on the hot seat?
We do a little twist on some of ours, but I'm
sure.
sure.
Give us an example.
And that's what I want you, just for this conversation, that's what it's going to be.
Yep.
Somebody may call it something else. I don't care, call it dippity doodah, but it's really, that's the idea. Just when we're talking about these different things. So Amy, this is the question I've got for you. I'd like you to really put your thinking hat on. You don't need to name the specific event or city or anything like that. I'm really looking, but I want you to think about, in the last 12 months, what's been the most successful sponsorship event that you've had? So I want you to think about that one first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to think about the least successful one. And then I want you to think about what was the difference between the two. And I'll give you the reason why I think this is so critical and why, there are some practical things that you can do that add 25 to 50,000. But everybody here, and maybe there's, and if you're one of these folks, I'm so glad, because you can probably give us some feedback as well. But I think there's, we look around and we see events, and you've got one event over here and they raise, $500,000 in sponsorships and underwriting. And this over here, they struggle to get 50.
Mhm.
Both have compelling missions, both have all the other same things, but these two things happen. And I'd really like to just, if we can today, to talk about what that one or two, three things are and what we can do in practical manner to move into where we're more successful.
So I would say there's not one specific thing. I would say there's a couple things that come into play. Um, One is the committee that you have that's selling these sponsorships, and the network that they have. So I think that the network that's connected to the event is super important. And I also think that a lot of it is doing your homework and setting up those sponsorship levels to fit the needs and wants of the people that you want to be in the room and that you want to attend the event. So, for example, if you build out sponsorship levels and they are giving benefits that people don't care about, that companies don't care about, or if you're building sponsorship levels that may be too high for your market, not every market has, you can't do a blanket $25,000 a presenting sponsor at every single event you do across the country. So I think you have to just really make sure you do that research and build those sponsorship levels to be appealing to the people that are going to attend your event.
So I'm going to kind of just retie this together. So you're saying that it really comes to, the committees, doing the homework, making sure we line the things up and doing all that. But really the biggest piece that I heard you say is relationships.
The network. Mm-hmm.
The network and relationships. And that was going to be and I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's what it comes back to from me. There's one thing that's the difference. If I look at a highly successful one versus one that's not, and I want to be real bit clear, is that the successful organizations that do it understand. They understand, they have a full comprehension that it's about not what you know, it's who you know. They understand that whole piece of the relationship. And I want to say this because I know there's already going to be questions coming up about this. How do we get those people, and how do we find out? And we don't know who, there's ways to do that. And we're going to talk about that here today. So there's something else that you said, Amy, and I think this is really critical too. Features and benefits versus mission. And I think when we start talking about, and because the easy thing to do, and I used to be in the telecom industry. Long time ago, I had a company, we sold telephone systems. And if we got to talking about features and benefits, well, then it's just compare and contrast, and it's just basically, it's a race to the bottom. It's about price. But if we talk about mission, and talked about function, what's it going to do? What is this system going to do for them? And that's not a great, I'm trying to make a comparison, but when we talked about what their mission was, we talked about what the business was, what they do, how they're doing their business. Then we were able to add value. Okay. And the same thing with nonprofits. And I'd like to hear your thought on that, about how to move over from features and benefits. They still play a part. They're still there, versus mission focused fundraising.
Well, I just think you have to break down your mission. What is your mission? Because we all in nonprofit have different missions. And then you have to equate the dollar amount that somebody is going to spend to something that ties to your mission. For example, we sell a cabin of kids can go to camp for $2,000, or a minute of research is $60. So for this amount, you can fund an hour of research. So really putting what what their money is supporting. Obviously, it's supporting the nonprofit, but really breaking it down to people like to know, wow, my money just sent a cabin of kids to camp. That's great. So really putting that value on it and tying it back to digging deep into your mission and what services and whatever your mission provides, and really tying it together that way.
Hey everybody, Trevor here with a friendly reminder to make sure that you, one, hit the notification bell, also subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave us a comment, a question. Hope you're enjoying the episode. Thanks so much. Got a question when you're ready, Jay and Amy.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, great. Hey, Kathy had a great question. It's usually challenging for small nonprofits to create a market-worthy event. How and what do you suggest for a small nonprofit to attract sponsorships and tie them to the social responsibility or frankly, to the mission?
I'll let Amy go first.
So I have a little bit of a mixed feeling on this, because I've heard somebody say to me, well, it's their social responsibility.
Mhm.
And yes, we all know people have social responsibilities, but there's thousands of nonprofits out there. So I don't necessarily think the social responsibility is
Yep,
the avenue to go.
yep,
I think it's more going back to what we just talked about, tying it
yeah,
to your specific mission. And then of course you want to tie the mission in your community, because people want to hear like this is how this nonprofit is helping the community. And I work for a national organization, but we provide lots of services to the local community. And when it comes down to it, that's what people want to hear. So I think it's more of going back to making sure they understand their mission, given that equivalent, that return on investment, so to speak. And then, as far as just attracting this, the sponsorships, it 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 goes back to what you said, Jason. It's finding those right people that you can connect to your mission and have the network, um, to help you bring
yeah.
in those sponsorships.
And
Let me
finding those people takes time. We're talking about, creating a strong committee over time, correct? When you're
It
saying,
does. It takes a long time, and you have attrition, and so it's a never ending process. From the
mhm,
time you decide to start an event, you're always going to be building your committee.
mhm,
You never ever get to the point where we have a committee, we're great, we're done.
yeah,
You're always going to want to expand on it. Um, and I think that it's important that you utilize these committees to help sell those sponsorships,
mhm,
because
mhm,
they're really the ones that have the network. And I also want to say too, I, I get the small nonprofit, and people will think of MBA as a large national organization. So we may be a bigger organization, but we work in rare disease space. So every one of our diseases that we work with, less than 200,000 people have that specific disease. Some of them, it's even less than that. So the big nonprofit doesn't always work. When you're in a rare disease space, you're similar to that small market,
mhm.
small nonprofit. And I also have found that a lot of our most successful events actually are in small markets.
mhm.
My bigger market events are a struggle. I find that the smaller communities, if you utilize the network and you build your sponsorships and you tie it to the mission and you do all those things, I find the smaller markets to be a little bit easier.
I want to ask a follow-up question. Do you think that it's because in the smaller markets, it's really because building something grassroots from the bottom up is awesome, right? And there's an opportunity to reach out to folks that maybe have not been asked, that
Yep.
have capacity, that have networks, but in a bigger market with a bigger nonprofit, what have you, they're always getting asked. It's like, where do I put my time and attention and this and that and the other thing? I mean, it sounds like there's probably something to that.
There is. I mean, yeah, it's exactly what you said. They're being asked from so many different areas, but I also think it goes back to what Jason said about the importance of relationships, and not that you can't have relationships in a big market, but I find it easier to have good relationships in a smaller community,
Yeah.
where people's networks tend to be more localized, and more connected.
I also want to say, Kathy, to challenge you, delicately, more encourage you. Don't let the small moniker be what stops you from creating these relationships and building these relationships over time, and then asking. Don't let that stop you,
So I'm
please,
gonna
just because of the small
I
label.
want to give, and I want to just address this because it's something we're going to come to, something just a real practical thing.
Mhm.
The first thing is, okay, we've said this is about relationships. So the second thing is well, how do we do it? I can tell you very practically. Most powerful fundraising tool. Look at anything I ever talk about. I always hold my phone up and say, most powerful fundraising tool we have in our hand. The reason is it's because in the contacts, we have millions and millions of dollars of potential fundraising potential. Everyone does.
Mhm.
One of the things that, and I see a lot of frustrated um, nonprofit professionals that I talk to, and they say, my committee just, yeah, we've got a committee, they just don't do anything. I'm going to tell you, they want to help, they just don't know what to do. And so a really practical exercise that you can do is a people exercise. Literally sit down with your deal, go get a big, I don't have one sitting here, but a big, like if you have a big whiteboard or you get some of the big posters, you can get on here and you can just go write down the list of everybody that you know. I did a virtual one with somebody a while back, and I literally sit in the room, I'm on camera, and I'm like, okay, everybody, we're going to really do this. Everybody. And everybody's like, nah, we don't know anybody. That's literally what they said. We're all poor musicians. We don't know anyone. Within 10 minutes of doing this exercise, they were able to put together a list of about 25 or 30 people that could write a check for $5,000 and not miss it, could bring people in, and they could do all these things. Now, that's just the stepping stone, but what you'll find is when you do this simple exercise, you'll find that you do know a lot more people. Because if we all sit around and try to think of somebody, it's impossible. Because we'll think of, I live in Oklahoma City. We got a couple of billionaires here. Everybody throws their names out. Yeah, it's okay. Sure, it'd be great to get one of those guys to come and write a check. But the practical, unless you can text them and call them and have a conversation with them, you're probably not going to get through to them.
Mhm.
But we all know people. We all know people that have capacities, that have businesses. We all know people that they have vendors that want to do things for them. There are very practical ways we can expand upon the network that our, people that we know don't even know. The board members. We've got board members that have companies, that have businesses, that do different things. They have connections. So the best place, especially for any nonprofit, but for a small nonprofit especially, is to start with the people that we already know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I caution people, especially when they start wanting to have a fundraiser and they think, well, we're going to have a fundraiser, it's going to fix everything. If you can't raise $100,000, don't do it. I mean, I'm talking about really small ones. I've got, talked to some and they're like, yeah, our budget's $75,000 a year. I'm like, and you don't need to have a fundraiser. Now you can have a house party, maybe you have a meet and greet,
Mhm.
to do some
Sponsor
practical
event. Yeah.
things. So, but it
Yeah.
all, to do it. But to get back to the main thing, let's stay with sponsorship and underwriting. That's
Yep.
my first thing is to go to is who do we already know? And Amy, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. We do the people exercise. We do it with our committee. I say it all the time. We have to sometimes think for them, if you have the right committee members and you're asking them, well, who's your accountant? Who's your insurance person? Who's
Yeah.
your, and asking those questions. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's exactly the route to go.
And something when you're making these lists and you're thinking about these people and you've got to encourage them, that doesn't mean that it's an automatic yes, they're going to do it. We're just trying to get something started. And action begets action. Motion, once you start motion, things stay in motion because we're starting to get people to think differently. We want them to start thinking the fact that, with mission, okay? It's not there needs to be a component of your event, but it's back to the mission because it's a lot easier for me to call up and say, hey, Trevor, as his business partner to go, hey, Trevor, hey, there's an organization, they want us to do some underwriting. They're going to send $10,000 is going to send 10 kids to camp. What do you think? Do you want something we want to do? And Trevor can go, yeah, man, let's send some kids to camp. Okay, that starts that whole. There's a difference between saying that, hey, man, hey, there's an event here in Oklahoma City. Trevor lives in Redding, California. Hey, there's a deal here. I was thinking it's going to cost 10 grand. We could sponsor it. There's going to be a party. I'm going to take some people to it, and we're going to have some fun. What do you think about that? Doesn't really do a whole lot. Doesn't push the mission. Okay, not a big emotional response, right, Trev? Because Trevor's
Yeah,
like,
it's not a
well,
needle. Yeah,
Shelby and I aren't going. How are we going to do that?
yeah,
Right.
exactly. I want a
Well,
party.
and also look within. What is your mission? Who are you providing services to, or who,
Who have
what
you
is your,
helped in the past? Yeah.
yeah, like that's your sweet spot. If
Mhm.
for MDA, we put on a summer camp for kids with neuromuscular disease. Well,
Mhm.
what better way to try and build my event than at the end of this camp week, talk to the parents that just heard how great camp was and say, well,
Mhm.
hey, we'd love for you to get involved and help us raise money so that we can continue to have these camps. So, like, sometimes just looking within is a great starting point.
I call it alumni. You know what I mean? But it doesn't have to have
Yeah.
anything to do with the school. It's like who has the mission impacted and where are
Mhm.
they at? And that is such a beautiful story. That's a story that's been told, thousands and thousands of times over. It's like I was a part of this program. I'm in this position now and I'm ready to give. Or yeah, exactly like you said, the parents that are involved or what have you. Absolutely. Kathy had a question about, door knocking, quote unquote, networking, I'm assuming techniques. I hope that helps. Yeah, Kathy. So yeah, don't knock on any doors.
When I hear somebody said, yeah, we're going to go out and do some cold calling. I'm like, for what?
Yeah,
What are you cold?
so hopefully that's giving you some practical
Yeah.
advice, Kathy, that
Yeah.
you can use to engage your board and
And
start
Kathy,
building out your
and if you
committee.
want to do,
Yeah,
sign up for a coaching session. Happy to
yeah,
spend some time with you to talk
yeah.
about your specific mission, how to kind of get that ask alignment. That's
Awesome.
something we're happy to do.
Yeah,
I want to move kind of into some practical stuff with it
yeah.
because
I
we
was going to
talked
get in the
about,
nuts and bolts.
we said
Yeah,
we're going to give 25, show you how to raise an extra
yeah.
25 to $50,000. Um, I'll just love putting you on the spot because you always have such good stuff. Okay, Amy, what are the top three things that you tell a team whenever you say, look, we need to raise an extra 25 to $50,000 in sponsorships and underwriting this year for an event? What are the things that you guys see are the top performers to move that? I have some ideas, but I'd like to hear what you guys are practically doing in the field.
I mean, our go-to, I mean, and I feel like I'm being repetitive, is we go
Mhm.
back to our committee, we go back to our network, and we have conversations about who do we know, who did we miss, who told us no a couple years ago, but we need to go back to them because sometimes it takes a long time to get a yes, I
No
mean,
means no right now,
no,
not forever.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, it's really, I would say we don't do anything fantastic and great and out of the box other than we just revisit and go back to the basics. Who's
Yeah.
already involved? We also have conversations with our existing, we have conversations with a company that gave $10,000 and say, hey, we appreciate this 10,000, there's some research that we want to continue to fund, and can you give 15,000 this year? So, I mean, that's probably our number one, is we go to the existing and ask for more because they
There,
can say no.
there you go.
Um, and
There you go.
then, just having those conversations with the committee, who are we missing? Let's rebuild that prospect list. I think that's a continuing, like, building your committee, building that target list is an ongoing thing, and
Mm-hmm.
refreshing it. And then going back to people that maybe supported in the past and haven't for a few years, can we bring them back? Going back to people that said no, and can we get a yes out of them? So, I mean, I think there's a lot of different routes that we go.
Well, one of the simplest levels that I've found whenever working with nonprofits and seeing the success that happens is to raise your rates.
Hmm.
Raise the level that you're asking for. Raise your
Just ask for more.
sponsorship levels.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I want to hear Amy.
Yeah. Say
So
it.
I was gonna, so yes, but I guess for me, like, why I didn't say that is we automatically do that every other year anyway. Like,
Okay.
regardless
Yeah.
if we want
This
to,
is
like,
where this,
it is
That's
well,
so.
a,
It's yeah,
I
yeah,
knew that. I knew
yeah,
that you
yeah,
do that because
yeah, yeah.
we've talked about it. So that reason I said that,
Is
because
everyone hearing that?
I
Yeah.
see people, they're still raising, they're using, I said, well, what's your top level table? They go, $5,000. What was it last year?
Five
$5,000.
thousand
What was the year
dollars.
before? $5,000.
Yeah.
And there's so much more headroom. There's a lot more money in the system now. Inflation's
No
happened. It's
question.
realistic. everything in the world's going up. Your costs are going up. So you need to raise your rates up. Okay. You need to raise those numbers up.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, this was a really interesting thing. There was a young lady I was talking to, and we were talking about sponsorship. I said, what's the biggest sponsorship you've ever had? She said, 15,000. I said, what's the most you ever asked for? She said, 25. Okay. I said, why don't you just raise the rate? I said, go and do something crazy. Put 50,000 out there. She goes, why? She goes, well, what's it going to hurt? If somebody doesn't do it, so what? You're not going to publish, you're not going to publish, diamond $50,000 sponsor, no takers. You're not going to do that. So I said, it does, if you don't ask. She called me back about 2 weeks later and just had tears. And she said, you're not going to believe this. She said, not only did we sell the 50,000, but we got three $25,000 sponsors because we changed the way we asked. Because what happened was people started seeing that event in the different light. They started going, wow, they're making things must be going on. Perception is reality. And the perception is, wow, these guys are growing. Well, the reality was that they were growing because people reacted to it. But if you don't ask, you will not receive. And Amy said something about going back. I love this thing where you go, who are your biggest fans? Who are the people that have the most invested in your organization? And the people that I see ignored time and time again are the people that give the largest financial donations. And the reason is because of fear. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing and Amy's going to get mad and not going to donate to me this year.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely the opposite.
They're the ones that want to be asked about everything. They're your biggest investors.
Don't, how do I do this? Don't let fear get in the way, because that's all it is. 99.9% of the time, they're going to be excited that you ask them.
Yes,
because they're going to say, "Oh, you want to hear? You don't just want to check. You want to hear what I think.
Yes.
You want my help. Okay."
They've earned it as well, though. They've earned it as well. Yeah.
And so when you go back to them and you're having the conversation, hey, you guys did 10,000 last year. Well, last year we sent 100 kids to camp. This year we want to send 150. Would you be willing to do an additional 5 kids? That'd be 15,000. Things like that, having the conversation, bringing it back to the mission over and over and over and over and over again. Mission drive, not give them another table. I think one of the silliest things in the world I've ever seen is somebody said, well, we're going to give them 3 tables. I'm like, why? You just gave them 3 headaches. They probably didn't even do it because they don't want 3 tables.
Hey, while we're talking about that, I
sincerely mean this. Amy, just hit on this real quick.
Yeah.
More money does not mean more tables, right?
It's probably the number one thing I have 22 people on my team, and I have 7 of them that are just in the golf gala space. And it's probably the number one thing I say to them is, more people in the room is not growing your event. Growing your event for us is, we want to see 10% year over year. I'd rather go 10% and have less people in the room and keep my expenses down, which is part of the reason we don't sell 10 top tables anymore. We sell 8 top. Because guess what? If people buy a table of 10, they have a hard time filling it with 10. So next thing you know, you've got these people, they're eaters and drinkers. They're not bidders. I don't want eaters and drinkers. I want bidders. So I'd rather have a table of 8 people that are going to come spend money than have a table of 10 with 2 or 3 that are just there to drink.
Okay, let me ask a follow-up.
Yeah, I want to segue this. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I want to ask a follow-up just to this point.
Please.
But what would you do if somebody was a $25,000 sponsor and they said, hey, Amy, can we get another table?
I would have a conversation with them about the importance of making sure that we are filling the room with people that are there for it and understand that it's a charity event. Mm-hmm. We have conversations with what we, our table lead or your, table captain or the head of the committee, whoever it is that is your main communicator that you're having these conversations with. We have very open conversations that this is a charity event and we don't want to just fill the room with people that are going to eat and drink. We want to fill the room with people that are going to come and spend money and support our mission. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's uncomfortable sometimes, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have conversations with your committee and your big supporters that it's a charity event and we're here to raise money. And
I think your point is really good, Amy, because it's a conversation. Because if they go, look, I'm going to bring I'm a banker and I've got 16 people. I got, 8 board members that I want to bring and their
Hmm.
spouses. Yeah. Okay.
Board
We
member,
know
sure.
we got people that
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
checkbook. They can write a check. Yes, we
Mhm.
want to do that.
Right.
But a lot of times they're asking, well, what else do I get? Do I get another table? Am I going to get a cheese
Yeah,
tray?
yeah.
Because now
Oh,
they're doing it. Well,
famous
no, not
cheese tray.
really. Okay. Yeah. The famous cheese tray. But um, it's not about what they get. It's about what they give into.
It's not transactional.
And it's
Yeah, it
doing
sounds
that.
so cliche to
But what
say, but it's not
my
transactional.
point
Yeah.
to all that is you can always add something to it, but you can never take away. Okay. Once you said, well, you get if with a $50,000 sponsorship, you get 3 tables. I can tell you, even if I had the capacity to write a $50,000 check and not do it, and they said 3 tables, I would balk at the 3 tables because I know what it's like filling 1 table.
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
because, we've all done this. That's why you guys always want, all you professional fundraisers out there, you're wondering why everybody waits to the last minute to give you the stuff on their table because they don't know. Because somebody said yes, then they said no, and then I got to find a replacement couple, and they don't want to
Yeah.
just bring
I
anybody
don't have a
because they got to have the
babysitter.
right
Yep.
deal.
I could not agree more. Have found that a sponsor would rather have their logo put on a sign in the room before they would rather have another table.
Okay. Yep.
Which
That
brings
segue.
us to
I really, really want to ask this question. Yeah, yeah. We have some questions coming in. How
yeah.
do you segue that interest? There's table fatigue, there's event fatigue. It doesn't matter the market, it doesn't matter. A lot of these folks are filling 10 tables a year or what have you, and they're like, I don't want to buy another table. The opposite of what we were just talking about when someone asks you for 3 if they're, well, I'm sponsoring at $25,000 level. How
Yeah.
do you segue that that table fatigue or event fatigue into an underwriting opportunity? Give us an example, both of you, please.
I mean, I think you answered your own question. You have a conversation and say, "Hey, I understand that you don't want to fill the table, but
Mhm.
we have an opportunity where you can still support the event and help us fulfill our mission and not even have to worry about filling a table." I mean,
And they can underwrite what, Jay? Like, give us an example what they
So
can
let's
underwrite.
just talk about underwriting for a second. Let me give you a
Yeah,
segue
please.
to it. And
Yeah,
believe me, all the questions on here, we want to get to them.
we're
So
getting to them. Yep.
there's a place probably we can tie it in. So we'll come back to those things. Um, on underwriting. So when
Mhm.
we're talking about the underwriting portion, we're talking about something that doesn't have a ticket. So it could be the check in, the check out, the red carpet. It could be the centerpieces, the drink of the night.
Stage.
It could be the
step or
stage, the sound,
be
the water
bathroom
closet, the
doors.
refreshing stations,
Do you
anything,
hear? Do you hear all this, everybody? Do you hear
anything
this
that costs
myriad
you
of things?
money or
Yeah.
doesn't cost you money is an underwriting opportunity.
Yep.
And the way that you do is you get a list of everything. We'll put one in the link when we send this out tomorrow. We'll get you. We've
Give
got
us
a
some
list that we
examples.
send
Yeah.
out, and it's just some suggested prices. Use your own pricing. We can, if you want to sign up for coaching, we can talk about it more. It's fine. But what you're doing is you're having an alternative because the way this works. So this is why this works so well. I love it because how many times do you call somebody and I go, "Hey, Trevor, hey, September 9th, there's a big event and we'd love for you to come be a sponsor." Trevor says, "What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I'm
Jason,
gonna
I'm
be
going to
out
be
of.
out of town that
I'm gonna
weekend.
be
We're
out
out
of
of town."
town, man.
Hey, man, it's not a
I'm doing my
problem.
thing.
Hey, I
Yeah.
completely understand. I've got a great opportunity. I'm going to send you some stuff right now. That way you guys could help us underwrite it. You don't even have to show up. Okay?
We're gonna have your name all in lights. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna
Let's
sponsor the
think
audio
about the
visual.
ones. I had a
Yeah.
guy. I had a guy that works for a utility, very large public utility. He said we have to give money to these events. Tell me what I can do besides buying a table. I don't want to buy a table. I have to do 12 a
So
year,
common.
12,
Yeah.
one a month. He
Yeah.
goes, I'm sick of buying a table because I got to fill it up because I cannot just have a sign there that has our company name on it without people there. And I don't want to just give away the tickets.
Yep.
We're like, underwrite. Pick something that you want to underwrite and just tell them, say, you know what, I really don't want to do that, but I want to underwrite this. So banks are a great example. Everybody wants to go get a bank.
Yep.
Banks are the world's worst unless you have a relationship with the president of the bank or the CEO of the bank, and they're one of the C-suite, and they're going to bring the board members and the C-suite with them, and they're going to spend some money.
And their biggest clients and all that. Yeah.
What are they going to do with the tickets? They're going to go out and they're going to hand them out to the tellers and the people that work in the office that don't have any money and say, hey guys, here's the deal. You can go get free drinks and dinner.
For the record, my mom was a teller and we didn't have any money growing up. We love tellers, but that's not the
But
point.
well,
Yeah.
it's just the reality. They don't,
Yeah.
and they're not going to have. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people that can move the needle, that have some capacity to give.
Amy
And
said something very, very interesting about 10 minutes ago where she said, I'd rather have an event with less people. That's why we took our tables from 10 to 8. I'd rather have an event with less people, with more folks that are willing to give in the room. My costs are down. I've maximized the sponsorship. I've maximized the underwriting opportunities because I started selling the underwriting opportunity for the bathroom and the stage and the sign in the room that someone got more excited about than filling a table. I think that's a really great approach and I mean, it sounds like I'm going really wide lens with that, but that can't be wrong. That's a really, really smarter, not harder approach, especially being very, very detailed about the people in the room. I think that those are difficult conversations to have, as you both have mentioned. And everyone that's had these, or wanted to have these conversations that's on here right now are going to be watching as recording has faced before. It's
yeah.
not a, it's necessary. I
Well,
got to
we
say.
talk about this all the time. What does our client want? Well, if you're a professional fundraiser and you're trying to raise money, well, that donor's your client, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I understand in the vernacular, these are our donors and our supporters and our clients
Mhm.
are the people we serve. But in this case, I
Investors.
want you to
Yeah.
think about your donor. What do they want?
Mhm.
Not as what do they want from your event? What do they want out of life?
Great call.
Okay?
Great call.
Who are they? Well, if the people that you're wanting to attract are, have wealth, have significant capacity to give, they're probably not flying on Southwest. Now, maybe they are. I don't mean to do that one, but they're, you know, I mean, people that have capacity want exclusivity. People that want capacity, they don't want to miss out on where the stuff is, where it's happening.
They want to be engaged as well. We
Small
keep coming back
events.
to that too.
I've
Yeah.
got a friend that she's now retired. Well, she's actually she retired from being a longtime executive director, CEO, and then she is back in as a temp. But they had an event with 50 people, 50 people, and raised $150,000.
Awesome.
Very
Very
low
detailed.
overhead.
Right
Yep.
Versus
people.
they do another event. They raise a lot of money. Their main gala, but she said, "Holy smoke!" She goes, "It was so much fun, and everybody loved it. All the
Yeah.
people that came had a great time. They really enjoyed themselves. It was a simple event, and they put it all out there. So
Questions. I'm going to go to
Well,
questions. Is
I
that cool
think
with
yeah,
you,
too,
Amy?
Jason, I think there's something about special about a smaller intimate event because the reality is a lot of these companies that are coming to these events, yes, they're supporting our mission, but they also want to network. They're business. If you have the right people in the room, they're business people and they want to network. And being able to have that small, intimate space where they can network and they can talk to people and not at the end of the night be like, there was 300 people there and I wanted to talk to this person and I never got to it. So I think there's really something special about having that small intimate event that actually is very appealing to companies.
More isn't always more. You're
well, I
absolutely
can
correct.
tell you more is not more. There's an event, an organization that I'm used to actually serve on the board of, and in the last few years, their events got bigger and bigger and bigger. They went from having 300, 400 people to having 600 to 700 people.
That's
And their
huge.
net raise actually went down
Yeah.
because number one,
So many people.
they were just trying to get more people
Yeah.
in the building thinking that was going to be the fix. And it's not, more is not always more. Sometimes more
Mm.
is less. And it's a lot easier to manage. And all and Amy can tell you, it's a lot easier to manage a crowd of 100 than it is of 500.
No
To plan
question.
for, to set up, everything.
And Jason, you said something that I think is some, a word that I really like that I think is a big seller. You mentioned exclusive. It's amazing how putting exclusive in parentheses behind a sponsorship, how much money you can get out of it. When a company feels like they're exclusive,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
you
Massive. Yeah.
that word has it has a lot of pull in the gala world.
Well,
I
and
love that.
exclusive, I'm called, hey, Amy, it's Jason. we're doing a fundraiser. We've got our deal, and I'm offering you the red carpet this year, exclusive to you, before I offer to anybody else. But if you don't get it, I'm going, because I know you're the Chevy dealer, okay?
Hatfield
And if you
McCoy.
don't do it, I'm going to the Ford dealer and offering it to them next. I mean, all these things happen because they want that exclusivity. They want to have they want to feel that.
Totally.
And you know, everybody starts thinking it's a dollar value. The money's not the issue. They've got money. Okay. That's not the issue. It's about what's it going to do? How's it going to position? There is a quid pro quo there. I mean, that's why I love the red carpet. It's worth $5,000-6,000 usually. If people are showing up, because all of a
If it's a
sudden
massive
everybody's
event,
going
it's
to take a
worth 10.
picture and their logo is going to be there on
Yeah.
every one of them.
Yep.
Wow. What a great advertising deal.
Yeah, I love that.
You know,
Hey, I got to get to questions, y'all.
yeah, do
Sorry.
it.
Yeah, we're 42 past the hour. Sorry. Hey, Catherine, awesome to see you. Thank you for the question. Catherine mentioned, hey, we're a choir that has 2 concerts a year, and it's not outside this call. It's a great question, Catherine. But how do we make our mission more compelling? Our mission now is roughly, we inspire the Northwest. So talk about how to make the mission more compelling for a choir organization that has 2 concerts a year.
I can tell you what I would do, because I did this with a group the other day.
Get in there.
It was music. Just how many people did you perform for? They said 1,200 people. Okay, what's your total budget? Divide the two, come up with a number, and then say, this is what it costs for us to bring the arts to our community.
Love that.
And people that care about the arts, if they're tied into that, if that's their giving side, will understand it. And they're like, I want to bring this lovely music to another 100 people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's $5 per person. It costs us $5. I mean, I know I'm just making the number up for easy math, but for, I could for $5,000, I could bring it to another 1,000 people. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
love
what the
that.
numbers are. It's just, you've got to, I like tying it back to the impact of the dollar.
But you
Whatever
always
that
say,
may be.
always remember the math. You always come back to that. You've been saying that since I met you. Always remember the math. And I just love how you just took, hey, this is how much we could, this is how many people, were at the last event. We know you were there. We know you love it. Also, Catherine, not a pressure. Sign up for a coaching session with Jason so he can do that with you, if you don't mind, as well. It'll be worth your time. So great. Abby, absolutely. We will have a list of underwriting ideas. We will also maybe just do a quick checklist of underwriting ideas that have worked in Amy's case, of course, what she does with MDA right now and what Jason's helping folks do all the time. Okay, we had a question about, at your key fundraiser, are live auctions out? They seem to take a lot of energy.
We've got 3 examples in the last 7 days that would prove opposite of that.
That's an anonymous question. We appreciate it. You can always ask
I'm just going to
anonymously.
say, I would say no.
It's the opposite. It's not
sign up for a
going
coaching
right.
session. We can talk about it. We can tell you, because there's some factors. It could. If you have the wrong setup, the wrong stuff, and the wrong auctioneer, I would just suck up auction and be awful.
But I'm going to use Amy's words that she said on one of the most recent webinars that she was on. In the live auction, we can take one item and we can sell it multiple times and raise thousands of dollars. And she does this at every event, thousands of dollars in 3 minutes or less in the live auction.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's where, because I hear this a lot too, is people think the live auction, it's done, and like it's different than it used to be, which it is different. And that's where I think a gala, what you did 3 years ago might not even be close to what works now. So I think that's where we as fundraisers have to change. And I feel like she's right in that, like, the live auction has changed, but that's where we need to change. And I can remember when I was in a training seminar, and they're like, the auctioneer was like, I like to have 10 items. And I start with the low one and I build up, and it was this bell curve, and you got the biggest, most exciting one at the top. And it was this process, and it worked at the time. But now it's like, people don't want
30 minutes of live auction.
They want a short one. So you're exactly right. So now we do.
Well, I think it depends. I think it depends.
Depends on the event.
You got to tie some things into your event and what it's doing too.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Right.
also, yeah.
Yeah.
But we have found that for our events, we do less items, but we make sure
Mhm.
we have those consignment items, or the items, that can be sold multiple times, because we're still selling when you had 10, 12 different ones, but
Mhm.
now we're just selling one item 10 or 12 times real
Mhm.
quick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it speeds
Yeah.
up the process, and we're seeing, dollar wise, if you look at our dollars, we're seeing an increase year over year in our live auction money, but we're doing it with less items, selling them multiple times.
Bailey, will you provide the link where folks can find those wonderful items that can be sold 10 or 12 times, please, in the chat?
Yeah.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
I want to get to Gretchen's question about, because I
Okay.
think this is really good. For smaller, intimate events, we are considering a private cocktail reception an hour before the event for our highest level donors. It would be attended by the principal and president priest of our Catholic high school. A small, intimate event before the bigger event, still seen exclusive, intimate enough, sort of an event within an event. Amy, I'll let you take it first.
Love it.
I mean, I love a pre-event as long as you sell it. There's got to be a price to get into that exclusive event, and I believe that you have to have lots of signage that says welcome to the VIP area, welcome to whatever, so that when other guests get there and they see those signs and they say, how do I get to be part of that?
FOMO.
So I like them, but
They got to be
only if
done
you're going to
right.
make money off them.
Yep. They
I
gotta be done
don't
right.
I don't agree with just adding a pre-event or an after party to do it. I do it if it's going to bring in more money.
So there's a
Love that.
couple of events. I just, this is just two different ways I've seen this done. I've seen it done a pre event, like maybe the night before, where they have this special, just a cocktail hour, or it's a gathering kind of thing. And maybe the people that, have actually bought certain level of tables, they get invited, and because, you're doing it that way, and that's part of what they're paying for within this. Or, as she said, we're going to have a special reception. If you want the VIP, it's like going to Disneyland, or going to one of the amusement parks, and you get the express pass, and so you get to go to the front of the line.
Skip the line.
And
Yeah.
something that makes it remember what we talked about, exclusivity.
Yep.
Doing the fear of missing out is a huge deal.
It's not for everybody. That's the
There's an
cool
organization,
thing.
it's a tennis, they do it's a national junior tennis league, and what they would do is they would have somebody like a tennis great, okay, some past champion of somebody who everybody would know and would want to meet, and they would have this roped off area. This was going to be the keynote speaker, but they would have a special meet and greet with them. And if you didn't have the wristband, you didn't get to go into the meet and greet. And oh my gosh, every year more people would come back and start adding that on, and it became a fundraising generator that more than paid. They first did it just to offset the cost of having the speaker, but then it became a revenue generator plus, because everybody wanted to go back there and have their picture made and shake the hand and do a meet. It was a pretty cool deal. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I think they're awesome, but I agree
Yeah.
with Amy. Don't give it away. Don't give anything away.
I don't. Yeah. Amy, and you're not afraid to say it, you'll have things that have no cost to you, to the organization, that you underwrite for a price. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, you'll also take, I've heard you say you'll take something that costs us 2,000 and we'll 4X it and sell it for 8, so please don't be shy and bashful about asking for money, everybody. Go ahead, Amy. I don't know if you wanted to expand on that.
Well, no, that's no, you're exactly right. I mean, we are, be creative. You can sell anything. It's crazy what people will buy into, but I think it's also important too, like you said, we typically take whatever the cost is and at least double, triple it.
Yeah.
We never sell anything for exactly what the cost is.
And that's a really good point back to the
Yeah.
whole thing with underwriting. We start talking about this table sales,
Yep.
sponsorships. One of the biggest, I mean, and Amy and I, we've talked about
Huge
this, and
mistake by
the
folks.
three of us talked about this before, where they look at it and it's $100 a head. So they've got $800. It's an 8-person table. So now we're at $800, and they're selling the
that's what they
table for
charge.
$1,000.
Yeah. It's like, gosh.
Holy smokes. Just, I mean, golly, yeah, let's make some money.
Please
And
don't do
that's
that.
where, but they're like, well, we might not sell as many tables. Okay, so what? Our profit, it's if
Yep.
I'm losing money and I sell more of it, means I'm going to lose more money. But if I sell less and make more money per unit, well, then I'm going to net out more
Yep.
money at the end of the day.
Yep.
And I can tell you, this is the thing. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you could have you could do the thing of, you know what, if we just get some people in the room, we'll raise some money. That time, those days are over. More
Yep.
people does not mean more money. It is just, you've got to do the work in beforehand, because otherwise you will just get eaters and drinkers, and they will show up, clean you out, and not leave a dime. And that's just the real world. I mean, I
Or
don't
they
mean,
drink too much and they bid on an item, and at the end of the night, they tell you that they didn't mean to do it and they're
yeah,
not
the
gonna
next day,
pay for it, and you've
well,
lost the opportunity on a live auction item
Yep.
because the drunk
mhm.
person bid on it.
Or
I
they
want to,
cancel their card, or they
yeah.
call and cancel their card, shut it
Yeah.
off, and you can't get a hold of them.
Back to the live auction. Bev, thanks so much for sharing. Our experience at the right auctioneer brings energy and enthusiasm. Back to the anonymous question that we had. I think that's a huge piece of it. We just did selling multiples last week or the week before. Check that out for sure. About energy, because if you get the right person in the room, the right items, you can actually. I changed the subject dramatically just now. Back to the live auction, but I wanted to get to Bev's comment about, you can bring a lot of excitement and a lot of energy and a lot of fundraising into your live auction if you do it right. Catherine had an awesome question about, she's struggling to engage with big corporations, with male decision makers, because she's worried that they're not really understanding or want to even accept what's going on in their community with regard to their mission, domestic violence shelter for women and children. Catherine, we can talk about that as well. I'm going to recommend a couple things. One, please sign up for a coaching session with Jason or myself. Two, Lori Zoskraska is a friend of ours and the founder of Growth Owl, and she wrote a book called The Boardroom Playbook about doing exactly that. She used to sell advertising space to Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies in the for-profit world, and now created this beautiful company. She's been on the webinar. She's been on the podcast. If you email me, Catherine, Trevor@hjafundraising.com, which, by the way, you can email me or Jason anytime, Jason@hjafundraising.com, or Trevor. I'm going to send you the book because it's been awesome, and it's probably the book that I've given away the most. And it's called The Boardroom Playbook by Lori Zoskraska, and I will send it over to you. And she's also very approachable and easy to reach on LinkedIn, and
Yeah,
has
and I
great
wanted to
webinars as
say,
well. Yeah.
it's hard. It doesn't matter whether it's male, female, whatever.
I
Large
don't think it's a
corporations
demo.
are hard to
Yeah.
get to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. It's not about
Yeah.
attaching to the mission, because, we all know, I mean, it's pretty simple whenever you say, well, 1 in 3, women have suffered from some kind of domestic abuse.
It's real.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
yeah.
it's touching everybody. So
Yeah.
we hear all that, but I think that, just understand, don't let, well, that guy, he's a guy and doesn't understand. Please. Large corporations are just hard. They take time, and it takes relationships. And that's back to the relationship word. It's back to that. You cannot just go knock on somebody's door, go say, hey, would you be a $25,000 sponsor? And they go, sure. Now,
Yeah.
maybe that happens a once in a while, but you got knock on a lot of doors, because I've never heard of it happening.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's just rare that that's going to happen. We have a friend, in fact, she just announced her retirement for a long time organization that did that. She pursued a gentleman for 5 years for his corporate, 5 years, that he said, no, 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 no. And then said yes, and came in with, I think, $50,000 or $150,000. So it takes time. It just,
we said no means no right now. It doesn't mean no
That's
forever
right.
at the
That's
beginning.
We
right.
just had one that was 7 years.
There
Yeah.
you go.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
And
but that's okay.
it's JetBlue. It's
Yeah.
a big sponsor. 7 years.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Jason,
it's
can I
real.
say something real quick?
Yeah.
Please.
Going
Yeah,
back
sure.
to when we were talking about like tables and pricing and stuff, and you said, $100 per person, so it's $800, and only charging 1,000. I think one thing that needs pointed out that a lot of people don't realize, that when you're figuring your per person, and like you said, $100,
Mhm.
your per person cost, in my opinion, should be all in. It is not
Yes.
just the cost of the meal. It is, you take your venue, you take your AV, you take all your costs, and you divide it by the number of people that are going to be in the room.
Mhm.
I see people do that, and they think because it's $100 per person and they're charging 150, they're making money, when the reality is there's all those other expenses. So I just wanted to say, like, I think it's really
No,
important
no.
that
I think
people
that's so.
understand
That's your
what
world.
that
That's your
per
world. You
person,
do
how
it.
you
Yeah.
get that per person cost. It
Yep.
is all inclusive.
Yeah, and I
Love that.
think we've got to keep that in mind. Dominique's got a
I
question.
love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to read
You
it
want me
real
to hit?
quick?
Yeah, I'm going to hit that. And Dominique, I also want to say we love creativity. If y'all haven't noticed, I just want to preface this with a trend here, asking for underwriting or presenting underwriting opportunities are creative. Creating exclusivity, that's creative. Hey, donors and your investors are and supporters are consumers at the end of the day, and this is what's garnering their attention. I'm not saying being different for the sake of being different, but we're talking about being creative. So when I'm prefacing Dominique's question with, yes, absolutely, creativity is really, really working these days, right? Like making the tables smaller, being very deliberate with the live auction, the underwriting opportunities, all these things. So please keep that in mind. That's a big, it's a big theme that we're seeing with a lot of successful events. So, Dominique says our past few gala events have not been very successful, and we're looking to pivot and possibly do a more family-friendly event as a fundraiser, like a fall festival type. We're looking to sell sponsorships, tables, booths, and have food trucks to try and keep costs down. Do you have any recommendations around our idea?
I've got something to say, but I'll let
Please.
Amy go first.
No, go ahead,
Yes, say it.
because I'm curious.
If your gala's failing, it's not because it's a gala. Doing a different type of event, you're going to have the exact same issue that you're having. Doesn't matter.
So I'm going
Still
to
goes
recommend
back
signing up for a
to
coaching call, Dominique.
it's
Yeah,
just I mean I don't mean to be real harsh, but I just because the issue, the symptoms are going, the symptom is the same.
sure.
And what happens is we think, well, we're going to switch over, we're going to do something else. Now, maybe there can. I mean, maybe instead of doing that, you do a walkathon because you've
Could be
got a
another
school and you
event.
can get all
Yeah,
these kids. And
yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of ways to think about the deals. But just simply changing to a different, well, we're going to make it more family friendly. Well, you may throw a bigger party, but that doesn't mean you're going to raise more money. I think
Mhm.
that's the thing is you've got to think about it from a mathematical perspective and a practical data driven. And I'm going to say one more thing, that when we're doing sponsorships and underwriting, the number one thing that I see holding professional fundraisers back from raising enormous amounts of money, the number one is what's going on up here.
Yep, fear of
Because they
asking.
start thinking, you guys, we start thinking with our checkbook and what I can afford.
Yep.
And I start placing those same limitations on what I think other people can do. Because I think, oh my gosh, this donor just gave $50,000. I probably could, because I can't even imagine. I only make $50,000, so I can't even imagine going and giving 50,000 and giving more than that. When the reality is, that's not even a rounding error for that person, because they're worth $900 million. They have more money in their change tray than I can imagine. So it's just a different way of thinking. So don't let those limitations hold you back from the
Mhm.
powerful work of funding your mission.
Yep.
Our job is to do that. That's what our job is, to go out and make those asks, to invite people to be a part of our mission. And you don't need to sell anything. All we're doing is continuously inviting people to be a part of our mission. So
Absolutely.
I want to give something away, but while I'm getting this ready to
Yeah,
go,
Amy, will you riff on that,
the
please?
final word?
No, I was gonna say the exact same thing. Everybody that knows me knows I'm like pro gala, so I would never recommend going away from a gala. I would recommend pivoting your gala to maybe look a little bit different.
Sure.
There's things you can do to make a gala appealing and exciting and fun. So I would look more at, rather than redoing it or like pivoting to a different event, I'd look at how can I pivot this gala to be more appealing.
I love that. I don't want to have the last word, but I do also think that that's a great opportunity as well, or a great way to frame it to where you're thinking about not only that and making it different and more appealing, but getting folks to want more and want to come the next year and want to invite people
Give
with
them something to
capacity.
talk
And
about. Yep.
yes,
Yep.
yes, yep.
Hey, I've got a winner.
Let's do it.
Marissa Bauer, step right onto the wheel, push the button, and
Hey,
let's see what you win.
Marissa.
All right,
How
here
does
we
it feel to be
go.
the big winner today? How does it feel? Tell us how it feels. Love it.
Holy smokes. She is the big winner.
We've never given
Wow.
away that much
We've
before.
Yay.
never given away 500.
Well, hold
Wow.
on. Spin it again, Jason. Hold on. I think that was a mistake. There was a mistake.
It's too late. It's too late.
Hey,
Congratulations.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming,
so much
Marissa.
for
That's
being
awesome.
here. Thank you
Yeah.
for being here. So it's
How cool
$500
is
of
that?
HJ bucks. You can use that to any one of our items and for your next fundraiser. So
That's really
folks,
awesome.
thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Amy Myers.
Yep.
Golly.
Thanks for having
Wow.
me.
You rock.
So fun.
Well, here's your invitation to come back for the 45th time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
Thanks everybody for being
Hey,
here. We
appreciate
really
everybody.
appreciate the
Thanks
time.
so much for the kind words. And we're here, Laura, to encourage you. Go to hjafundraising.com, sign up for a free coaching session. It's super easy. We don't charge for our coaching. We don't charge for our webinars. We don't charge for our podcasts. We give all of our best information.
We keep
and
giving
our,
away money. We get money like that. We're not gonna be charging for our items either.
Yeah, and our
I'm
our
just
dear
kidding.
friends' information, we give it all away for free. So thanks so much, everybody. Do us a favor, share this with someone in your network. We'd love to see you all come back.
Share this with somebody, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate you both. Okay, talk to you
See
soon.
ya.
guys,
Bye.
bye.